Ajit Pawar. Very tragic news that's come in early this morning of Ajit Pawar losing his life in a plane crash. News9 has now accessed latest visuals of the wreckage of the crashed aircraft that carried Maharashtra Deputy CM Ajit Pawar. These are the latest visuals also coming in from Baramati showing the wreckage. In fact, this aircraft was handled by the VSR group, VSR Ventures. This aircraft was a Learjet 45 that crashed. Some reports, in fact, reports are conflicting. Some say it was fog, while few reports claim this was a technical glitch. Though the Aviation Authority, the DGCA, all right now in action probing this case to see what exactly happened. A report yet to be tabled. But for now, what we see here is complete wreckage that's in fact fully gutted in fire. The aircraft was carrying Ajit Pawar, the Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra, along with 4 others, and that included his PA, 2 pilots and 1 assistant. Very tragic case. In fact, he was to arrive in Baramati to attend a host of meetings ahead of the local body polls there, we hear. And it's his hometown. Ajit Pawar hails from Baramati. And it's just very tragic that even before he could land at the airport there, it appears that very close to the airport, the aircraft crashed. It looked like a technical glitch is what many reports suggest. They attempted landing twice. First failed, the second round of landing hit hard on the ground, and you saw that aircraft engulfed in smoke. And this very tragic news that came in and really has gripped the nation. The man who's a very well-known political figure. He was earlier part of Sharad Pawar's NCP. He started his own breakaway faction. His party was then eventually recognized. He merged with the NDA. He ended up being the Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra. And he's done a lot when it came to the Ladki Yojana scheme ahead of the assembly elections in Maharashtra. We hear Ajit Pawar had a lot to contribute. He gave a lot in terms of support and benefits to women, and this people across party lines have corroborated and agreed that the man has really contributed extensively to the growth of Maharashtra, at least to a section of the society who really worship him. It's huge loss. The visuals here showing completely destroyed aircraft with twisted metal and debris that's all scattered around. Local residents can be seen gathering around the wreckage as well as the investigation teams secure the crash site. The aircraft crashed while trying a second approach to Baramati after a go-around, and it appears that because of poor visibility, some say technical glitch, the plane ultimately crashed. Now, on your screens is a picture that really explains the crash site. On the right is the tabletop runway, and to its left is the wreckage at the crash site. DGCA sources have told News9 that the aircraft crashed at the tip of the tabletop runway while attempting to land. The civil aviation report says that pilot first did a go-around because of poor visibility and then attempted a second approach after landing clearance. But the ATS could not get a read back from the aircraft or the pilot, and shortly after that, flames near the runway were visible. We have more details from the Civil Aviation Ministry's report, but first, to explain this picture of the tabletop runway, the crash site, let me bring in Sabyasachi for a little more in detail. Go on, Sabyasachi, as the visuals we see there, the crowds that have gathered, it's shocking as it is for people across the country, and imagine those in Baramati, where Ajit Pawar belongs to. All right, we're yet to get his connection there, but the tabletop runway that we're showing you doesn't appear that the aircraft landed. It clearly did not land on the runway due to poor visibility is what we hear. Prima facie, it claims, reports suggest that poor visibility led to the pilot going around yet again, coming for a second landing, but that did not happen. By the time they saw flames erupting from the nearby area, near the airport itself. Sabyasachi is with me on this. Go on.
Well, see, in the visuals, in fact, News9 was the first channel to get this information from the DGCA sources. that the Baramati airstrip is a tabletop runway. Now on the screen you can see the crash happened at the tip of the tabletop runway in Baramati, and on the left side is where the debris are. Now from the DGCA sources we also learned that the major reason behind this crash could be the poor visibility. Now this particular confirmation also came in from the Minister Ram Mohan Naidu. He says that the preliminary investigation and the preliminary probe says that the poor visibility could be one of the reason why the crash happened. Now if you look at the sequence, now the DGCA says that on the first attempt that the pilot made for landing, he could not see the runway because of poor visibility. Now a second attempt was taken by the pilot. Now there was a constant communication that was going on between the pilot and the tower control. When the tower control had asked the pilot that he can see the runway in the second attempt, then he says yes. Now after that the clearance for the landing was given. Now post the clearance for the landing is given, the pilot has to answer back or read back to the control tower, which the control tower did not receive back, and within a few seconds the control tower saw flames near the runway, and that's when they got to know that the crash has happened, and they sent out the fire brigade and other teams to the spot. Now the DGCA also had given the AAIB to carry out the investigation. Now the AAIB here in the national capital, they visited the VSR Ventures office here in the national capital. Now during this visit they have also captured a lot of, they have secured a lot of documents from the VSR Ventures office which are related to this aircraft, regarding the maintenance record and the clearance that they have gotten from the DGCA, and also the medical certificates related to the pilots. Now the preliminary report also says that the aircraft had all the clearance that was needed. In fact, it had all the valid documents with them. There was no technical fault, and the preliminary report clearly rules out as of now that there was no technical fault. So we have to wait and see how the investigation pans out, because the AIB as well as the DGCA are currently on ground. They have secured the black box, and once they get the details from the black box regarding what was the speed of the aircraft and what exactly was the reason why this aircraft caused, so we'll get more transparency.
Right now is a visual that we're playing out for our viewers to show how the crash happened. In fact, the moments before the plane crashed, it was captured on some of the CCTV cameras around there in the vicinity, and it shows this the aircraft really plummeting. News9 has also accessed the initial findings of this Baramati air crash that killed Maharashtra's Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar. A minute-by-minute sequence leading up to this accident at an uncontrolled airfield has been established, and what we understand is that this aircraft was fully airworthy. It was certified at the time of the incident. Its airworthiness review certificate was issued on September 10, 2025 and was valid until September 14, 26. So well within its period. The checks were done. Reports also makes it quite clear that the flight crew was licensed, it was current and medically fit at the time of the flight. The pilot in command, Sumit Kapoor, held an airline transport pilot license and had logged over 15,000 hours of flying experience. He had successfully completed his instrument rating and pilot proficiency check on August 18, 2025. His last medical experience was conducted on November 19, 25 and was valid until May 2026. So, expert pilot, fit aircraft, but unavoidable accident it appears. If visibility was low, could there have been something that could have been done last moment? I'm not too sure. Aviation experts possibly would give us a little in depth on that. But the co-pilot as well, very experienced, Shambhavi Pathak, held a commercial pilot license with approximately 1,500 hours of total flying experience. Her most recent medical examination was carried out on July 12, 25, was valid until July 24, 2026. She had completed her last instrument rating and proficiency check on July 22nd, 2025. So you can imagine the best of the pilots, a fit aircraft, but ultimately tragic episode that's now claimed the life of Maharashtra's Deputy Chief Minister. Initial findings, of course, indicate both the aircraft and the crew met all regulatory requirements. So it clearly appears then this was unavoidable with fog and low visibility. This is what is suggested. Going by the report, all the vitals are clear. The aircraft is fit. The pilots are experienced. So if it was such low visibility, the flight could not land, then could they have been warned in advance? Sabia, to give us a little more on that. Sabia, if they were really in communication with the air control authorities, the air traffic control officials, did they not reveal that, did the pilots not communicate that visibility is low? What usually happens in a circumstance like this? Do they usually say that we are not able to see? Will the air traffic control then ask them to deviate? Will they give directions or instructions to move to another direction or move another round until they find some visibility? How does it really work in a scenario like this?
Well, in a normal airport, you see the instrument landing system. Now, the instrument landing system is extremely vital under circumstances when the aircraft experience or the pilot experience low visibility. So, whether this instrument landing system was there in this particular runway, was it there or not is yet to be confirmed by the DGCA. This is not a regular airport. This particular airstrip have been used for landing was mostly the VVIPs who travel to Baramati, and what we are picking that usually the Pawar family used to use this airstrip, and it did not have a proper ATS as well. In fact, the pilot instructor, they only used to communicate with the aircraft at the time of landing and takeoff. Now, if you see the sequence, now in the first attempt, the pilot says that I could not see the runway because of low visibility. Now, if you come on the second round of conversation that the pilot has with the control tower, that is extremely crucial. Now, the control tower asks the pilot that is the runway visible. Now, at that particular time, the pilot says yes. Now, after the control tower gives a clearance, they did not read back anything from the pilot. So that clearly also raises a lot of question. Now, regarding the visibility, which in fact also has been cited by the Minister Ram Mohan Naidu, there could be other factors as well, because the eyewitnesses say that the particular aircraft was descending in a manner that it would crash. So whether there was a technical fault is yet to be ascertained. It will be only clear after the investigation takes place. Now, the ministry has ascertained that yes, there will be a transparent investigation, and the AAIB and the DGCA will investigate every single aspect, and that is the reason why they also carried out, they also went to the office of VSR Ventures here in the national capital, and they have collected all the related documents. But also they have mentioned in the preliminary report, in the preliminary findings, that the airworthiness of the aircraft was there, the pilots was medically fit, there was no certification or paperwork issue with the aircraft. If you talk about these chartered flights, which usually takes VVIPs to different areas, these aircraft go through thorough checking before taking the VIP. So there's lot of answers there's a lot of questions which needs answer, but it will be all clear once the investigation is over. But right now it seems that because of poor visibility, and also there are chances that it could.
We've got to wait and watch to see when the complete report is actually tabled, but these are initial findings that Sabia has brought for us. But stay with us, we have more information on key documents linked to the Baramati air crash that have come now to light. That's in our hold, and we understand that investigators are probing in that direction. The Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau has seized a comprehensive set of records from VSR Ventures as part of its probe. These includes the complete aircraft maintenance records, engine and aircraft system service history, and the technical logbook as well. Investigators have also taken possession of the pilot's flight records and medical certificates, along with the maintenance release to service documents, spare parts traceability and certification records, and also audit and airworthiness inspection reports issued by the DGCA. All these documents are now under forensic analysis. The investigation agency is currently examining whether the crash was triggered by human error, adverse weather conditions, or any lapse in aircraft maintenance, as officials work to establish the precise cause of accident. So, by and large, what we understand is low visibility could have been the reason. But yet, until the probe report really underlines it, then we can't really, put our finger on that, can't really confirm that that itself is the reason. Deepak Kumar joins me live right from our newsroom as he tracks the story very closely. Deepak, give us a little sense of the twist in fate. Ajit Pawar belongs to Baramati. That's where he hails from. It's where his vote bank is, his strong political hold that he has there. He hails from there. He was born there. That the kind of connect that he has with Baramati ultimately died in his very own land. Very tragic. Give us a little more in detail on what we know about the funeral that's to come tomorrow.
That's right, Nabila. Now, Baramati is Ajit Pawar's stronghold, and it was from there that he started his political journey. And it's so tragic that Ajit Pawar's last few moments were also in Baramati, and tomorrow the last rites will be performed in his home turf. But today, from tomorrow at 11 a.m. the funeral procession will start. But today, right up until 1 a.m. For public viewing, Ajit Pawar's mortal remains will be kept for public viewing. But what we need to understand is the timeline of events, Nabila. The last few moments that Ajit Pawar and also the crew that were present on that plane spent. So the last few minutes, visually you can see, we have accessed the visuals. The plane is almost, nose diving towards the ground. And what we need to really focus on right now is what happened inside the plane. So at around 8:18 a.m. this morning, the plane took off for Baramati, and 30 nautical miles inbound, there was a conversation between the pilots and also the persons who were handling the ATC, engagements at the Baramati airstrip, because Baramati is an uncontrolled airstrip. It doesn't have a proper ATC. So all the instructors and trainer pilots there, they take over the role of the ATC. So when the plane was 30 nautical miles inbound, the pilot was then advised by the instructors and the team that was present at Baramati to descend only after they get a visual, confirmation of the runway. That is the VMC, that is visual meteorological conditions. If the pilot can see the runway, then he could land the plane. But the pilot clearly confirmed back to the team sitting at Baramati, saying that the runway was not clearly visible. So they did a turnaround, and they went around the Baramati airspace just to, ensure that the runway gets even more clearer, to land the plane. But fortunately, there was another communication that was issued by the team sitting at Baramati, saying that the runway is finally visible and you can land the plane. But it was after that particular call at around 8:43 a.m. That is around 26 minutes into the flight after it took off from Mumbai. It was then that the pilots received a clearance that they can land the plane. But unfortunately, within a span of 1 minute, the plane then crashed right next to the runway 11. Runway 11 was where the plane was supposed to land, but unfortunately, it did not happen. And that was the last voice communication that was issued by the team that was sitting in Baramati to the pilot. And after that response, there was no reply from the pilot, which clearly goes on to show, that the pilot did not really have enough time to respond. The plane nosedived right next to runway 11 in Baramati airfield. And that's when, when they didn't receive the response from the pilot, that's when the crew that was there at Baramati then looked outside and they saw, a plane crashing and bursting into flames. Then immediately emergency teams were pressed in. The fire and safety department was also engaged on a war footing. That's when all the rescue and relief operations started. But tragically, before the emergency personnel reached there, lives had already been snuffed out. This is what we are picking up at the moment, Nabila. And as we speak, the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau is now going through the black box which they had recovered from the crash site a couple of hours back.